Alrighty, just to reiterate and just kind of close the book on Saturday night, I do think it was a versatile team win. I've been talking a lot about this with the team that we can win games a multitude of ways, and I thought Saturday night kind of showed that. We were really sound on special teams. We got two explosive returns out of Worthy in the punt return game. Sanborn punted the ball extremely well. Our kickoff coverage unit, continues to be just tremendous. They brought one out. We tackled the returner down inside the 15-yard line. So that's been a real positive of ours. And I know sometimes we're always looking for the wow plays with the blocks and things, but we've been very steady on special teams. I thought that our field goal unit was good with their opportunities that they had. So been proud of that unit. They showed up Saturday night. I think defensively, as I touched on, there was probably 3 plays in the game that you feel frustrated on. The long touchdown run, we just don't fit it. We don't fit it very, very well at all. That kind of throw on the sidelines that goes through Keaton Crawford arguably could have been an interception, and they create an explosive play there. And then the scramble there in the third quarter on third down where they kind of quarterback scrambles to his left and hits the receiver kind of in the hole there. But outside of that, we played pretty sound defensively, and I thought the adjustment on some of those quick out route throws showed up when Jaron Thompson, inevitably jumps the route, gets the interception, and returns it for a touchdown. So that adaptability was good. I thought in the run game, we kind of adjusted styles and we started moving them off the ball. I thought Jonathan Brooks, like I said, ran well. What I was really impressed with, you watch Xavier and A.D. Mitchell, 2 guys who we think of catching the ball. They blocked really well the other night. They were getting on secondary players and blocking, and that's just being a complete player. And then lastly, Jahdae Barron, 4 really good third down stops, a couple tremendous plays there. And then lastly, I hate to jinx a guy, but Quinn taking care of the ball, I think, has been big for us as well. I know we had the 1 turnover really late there, but inevitably, taking care of the ball. So proud of the guys, like I said. That was a good learning experience for us to maybe not being at our best, but refocusing, recalibrating, and playing really well in the second half. We just didn't get many opportunities. I think we only had 52 snaps in the game offensively, which is about 20 or so snaps off of our average. And so you'd like to think maybe there'd be a few more opportunities to score, but I think we took advantage of the ones that we had in the second half. So encouraged by that. I think this week, Big 12 play, and that's exciting. And like I touched on with the team, Big 12 doesn't care that we're 3-0. The Big 12 doesn't care that we're ranked number 3 in the AP poll. We are 0-0 in Big 12 play, and this week we've got to do everything in our power to try to get to 1-0 in a hostile environment against a really well coached team, a veteran team, and it's going to take a lot of poise, a lot of composure, and we're going to need to play a complete game. We're going to need all 3 phases Saturday night, and so that's what we're putting forth in our effort, and that all started this morning.
Raise your hand if you have a question. We'll get it back to you. Right here in the middle. Dennis, start us off.
Coach, when it comes to Quinn, wasn't quite as sharp as he was, obviously, as he has been. When you look at tape, anything jump out at you? Just one of those days, and what have you talked about with him since?
I think just every aspect of the passing game needs to improve. We felt like we weren't as sharp. We had a protection breakdown in there. Didn't have the best play calls predicated on what the coverages were. I think Quinn could have probably made a couple throws that he normally would make. So everybody kind of took their turn, and that's not to make excuses. We all have to be better, and that again, you think passing game, you think play call, and you think quarterback, and most notably, both of us need to be better. But I think everybody else needs to be better as well. And so we all got to take responsibility of that, and we're going to need our passing game, as we know. And so, again, I'm not going to let one game kind of knock me off my rocker on this one. We were really good throwing the ball for 2 weeks, especially in week 2. It wasn't as clean as we wanted to. The lucky part for us, we have a run game that we can lean in on, a defense that we can count on, and special teams. But we'll get that fixed, and we'll go out and play much better in the passing game this week.
There been a lot of shaky Big 12 performances by other teams so far in non-conference. Have you learned anything about the conference that may be different than yours?
I haven't I haven't had a chance enough to watch everybody. You know, I see the scores, but I haven't had a chance enough to watch, you know, the reasoning behind it. You know, obviously, I think we found out, you know, Wyoming's a pretty good team, so I get an understanding of the Tech game there, of what that looks like. You know, but what's happening in the Big 12, I don't know. I know we got good coaches and there's good players and tough environments to play in, and you know, I think sometimes we assume certain teams are supposed to be good, but you know, I look up, I know Kansas is 3-0. So, you know, I know Kansas State, I did catch a glimpse of that. That was a tough loss on the road against an SEC team on a 61-yard field goal. So, you know, at the end, we know we're going to get everybody's best shot. But you know, we'll have to analyze each team as we go, as the closer we get to them.
Hey, morning, Coach. Do you have any injury updates on Chris and Cole?
Yeah, so Chris and Cole, both of those guys will be out probably 3 to 4 weeks. I think we'll have them both back within about a month. You know, the good part is they're not season-ending injuries. The tough part is they're significant enough for them to miss a couple ball games here. So, you know, ideally I'd love to have them back for OU. If not, then we have that bye week, and then they can get ready coming out of the bye.
Back here on your left, Thomas.
Coach, with that spot opposite Ryan Watts at corner, you know, Gavin Holmes, Brooks, and Malik Muhammad been playing. Has anyone stood out to y'all that maybe may kind of seize that starting job over there?
I think they're all playing well. And I don't, you know, again, it's kind of like before Cole got injured at right guard. I'm not in a rush to say this guy needs to go out there and play 60 snaps, you know, because we have quality depth on our team. And, you know, I thought the other night, you know, Gavin Holmes covered really well. I thought Terrence Brooks, you know, although that was a kind of a tough PI call there on third down, I think he's playing pretty good football for us, and I think Manny Muhammad is getting better. And so there's nothing like having people that can cover on the perimeter. And so if I can keep rolling those guys a little bit, we're going to continue down that path.
Stay here on the left, Danny.
Steve, through these 3 games, what do you like about this defense? What do you think your defense does well?
Yeah, well, I think one, we're playing together, right? I think our communication is as good as it's been since I've been here, and so that starts with your safeties. That starts with your kind of inside linebackers, making sure everybody's on the same page. And so, you know, for the most part, we don't have catastrophic busts, right? Whether it's in coverage or in the run game. I know the one run spit out the other day, but that was for a kind of, in my opinion, a variety of things. But I think that communication has been helpful. I think, too, their understanding of why we're calling what we're calling, and PK what he's calling, and what we're trying to defend. 3, I like the way the effort that we're playing with. I think we are getting to the football. We're populating the ball. We're tackling really well. And ultimately, we're affecting the quarterback. And, you know, in a game that was kind of heavy run driven and the ball getting out of the quarterback's hand, the one time we had an op, you know, Barron Sorrell with a big sack there late in the ball game. So I think all those things add up to we're playing a style of football that's fast, that's aggressive, that's physical, and it's smart. And so if we can keep going down that path, we're going to be okay.
Stay over here, Dan.
Coach, you said on Saturday that you were presented with defensive fronts that were different from the past 2 weeks of film. So how are you preparing for the running game to improve this game, and then also an update on C.J. Baxter?
Yeah, hopefully we can continue to build off the run game of kind of where we got to last week. You know, one of the challenges from a coaching perspective is, you know, we try to anticipate the looks that we're going to get. And then we try to put our players in position to practice those things, and then so that they can operate at a high level. But ultimately, we're always going to get some things in game that are different, right? That are new. And that's when our players really have to trust their training. That's when they have to fall back on their fundamentals, right? The training that we've put them through training camp, and where the rules apply to each run, and block it to their capability. And then on the sideline, we can get those things fixed. And so I think we can mature in that frame of like, hey, we're going to practice our runs this week versus the variety of things we think we're going to get. If something outlandish comes out, if we just trust our training, we stick to our fundamentals and techniques, we should cover them up. it might not be the ideal run versus that specific look or that front, then that's where we have to adapt and we have to adjust as a coaching staff and maybe get them to something different.
On your right, Coach. Ed?
Coach, Saturday's game will more than likely mark the end of this Baylor-Texas series. A lot of us in this room have seen a lot of Texas-Baylor games. In a perfect world, I know this is upstairs with CDC and others, would you like to see Texas play non-conference the Baylors or the TCUs or the Techs in the future to keep these rivalries going?
Well, I think that's always a hard one because the moment you play one of them, the other one's going to be even more upset. Why isn't it us? And so, again, all I can do is focus on the teams we play, and I recognize these are great rivalries and games that have been played for a long, long time. If that's the direction it ends up going into, that'd be great. I think it's great for the state of Texas and so on and so forth. But some of that is obviously out of my control of what we do there. But I do think one of the challenges with that is you play Baylor, Tech's upset. You play Tech, TCU's upset. You play TCU, Houston's upset. They finally just got in the conference. And so it kind of just, there's that trickle-down effect. And so where it goes moving forward, I'm not really certain. I know we're excited. Next year we get to play A&M again, which we haven't been playing for some time. So you can't play everybody. All you can do is just try to, play the schedule you have and play it as good as you can.
Over here on the left. Center.
Hey, Steve, before the season, you talked about when you're in Alabama, you had all those good receivers and everybody got to eat. Now, as far as this team's concerned on your defensive line, 8 sacks by 6 different players. Seems like everybody's eating on that side of the ball. How important is it to not have to rely on just one guy?
No, I think it's great. Again, we came into the season like everybody, wondering where were we going to get that pressure from on the quarterback, right? We knew a year ago that we applied pressure on the quarterback, but we didn't get the numbers in getting him on the ground. And I think it's a real credit to Coach Bo and to PK in being creative in their ways to get pressure on the quarterback and trusting the depth that we have on that defensive line. And now to think we're getting it from a variety of people, and whether it's the interior defensive line with Sweat and Murphy and Alfred Collins and Vernon and that crew, or you get to the edge position with Ethan Burke, Baron Sorrell, getting him one the other night. We've been using Chris Ross more. Justice Finkley's been showing up. And then, the utilization of Anthony Hill, that ability to play depth and letting guys rush the passer fresh, I think has been helpful. Where a year ago, some guys were on that field for a lot of snaps, and then it came down to critical third downs, and they just didn't have enough juice in their tank to get the quarterback on the ground. There may have been pressure, we couldn't get him on the ground. So now I think we are reaping the benefits of a rotation on the defensive front to apply pressure on the quarterback and ultimately get him on the ground.
On your right, Terry.
Coach, I call it the efficiency package. It's a series of quick plays, quick drives over a very short period of time that score. It's been 21 points every single game against Rice, Alabama, and now Wyoming. Is that something that you practice? Is that designed, or did that just happen and got lucky?
Well, I think, one, we're a better team when we're really efficient on first down. And that's probably true for everybody. I don't know. But when we're good on first down, generally we almost avoid third downs because first, second down. But also when you win on first down, it gives you much more manageable third downs to win with. And when we get ourselves in trouble is when we put ourselves in third and long situations, and right now that's just not quite a strength of ours. We need to get it to become a strength of ours, but we're not quite there yet. So we need to be really efficient on early downs, and when we can create some momentum that way, and we can really start sequencing plays in a manner to where the guys understand what's coming next and what's coming next. And so again, that's why our base game plan is so important to us, and the guys understand it and understand our openers. I touched on it the other night. We're so proud of what we're doing in the fourth quarter right now, and from where we were the last 2 years, it's great. But man, we got to get back to being a really good team that starts fast and starts well and owns that game plan, which is something that was kind of trademark of ours for the first couple years. So that's going to be a big point of emphasis this week of make sure we get back to owning the game plan and being efficient earlier in the game and not having to wait till the fourth quarter.
Over here on your far left, Kirk.
Yeah, Steve, I was going to ask you about the slow starts because obviously you got the finish part down.
Yeah.
When you go back and examine it, is there any certain things that are you too
You know,
conservative or anything?
Some of it is we just haven't finished some drives. You know, we've had pretty good drives early in the games, and we've gotten ourselves into the red area, and we haven't finished those drives. You know, I mean, most notably, I mean, you think about the Alabama game, we were moving it, we weren't punching it in the end zone, and so finishing those drives I think is important. You know, the other night, that second drive was a 90-yard drive. That it just took us a while. I think that's the part that sometimes frustrates us too, because we're so used to kind of getting yards in chunks and punching it in that sometimes when you have to be a little bit more methodical, there's nothing wrong with that. We shouldn't feel disappointed going 90 yards and scoring a touchdown. But in the end, it's owning the openers and owning our game plan. And, you know, again, we have a veteran team that really tries to do what we ask of them to do on the offensive side of the ball. And, again, we've placed a lot of emphasis on finishing in the fourth quarter and making adjustments. I got to make sure we got to swing that pendulum back a little bit of owning these openers and starting the way we're capable of starting.
Look by the camera. No.
Hey, Coach, the mantra of embrace the hate, I feel like was at least born in part of the SEC move. Now that it's conference play, Big 12 from here on out, does that ratchet up where it is indeed embracing it?
Well, I think we just need to understand what we're walking into. You know, we're going to go into Baylor here Saturday night on the road. It's been well documented that as of right now, the last time we're going to play Baylor, last time we're going to go there. And so we understand the environment we're walking into, and we can't be fearful of that. You know, we have to embrace it. We gotta walk in there and be ourselves and play our brand of football, but understand what we're going into. And so, you know, I do think that's part of it. I do think, you know, as a lot of these games and historical games are going to come to a close this season, now more than ever are their horns down, right? Now more than ever are there, you know, who cares about Texas? Let's take one more shot at them on the way out. And so we can't sit here and be a punching bag. You know, we got to walk in there and we have to be in attack mode, and we have to make sure that you know, we're built for the environment. And I think we've proven that to ourselves now over kind of the last couple of road games that we've had, and no more than going to Alabama and embracing that environment. So we're going to have to do the same Saturday night.
Good morning, Steve. Gunner Helms seen a rise in playing time. I was wondering if you could talk about the value that he brings to help him earn that time offensively, and on defense with Jade, just how crucial is it to have a guy like him who's such a sure open field tackler from that start position?
Yeah, I think Gunner, you know, I've been trying to praise him as much as I could. Yeah, I think Gunner's had a great training camp, and he started the season off really well for the first 3 weeks. You know, he's a very, very intelligent player. He's tough. I think he's got a workman-like mentality. He's a blue-collar guy that I think is a really nice compliment to JT. With all that JT can do in the passing game, I think that those two work well together. They came in together. They're very close. And in turn, you know, Gunner provides a lot of versatility to our offense because we can move both of those two guys around. They can be interchangeable. And Gunner's probably a better pass receiver than most would know. But I only have so many footballs, you know, every snap. And so, you know, when you're trying to spread the ball around, it was good to see him kind of get involved last week, but I think he's more than capable to be a weapon in the passing game too. So we're lucky to have him. I think he's an asset for us. On defense, Jade's kind of the glue over there for us right now because he does a really good job of tying the front and the back end together. You know, Jalen obviously does it from the backer position, but Jade does it at that star position because he's in and around the box in the run game. We're asking him to play in coverage and zone coverage and man coverage, and he gets some tough matchups in the slot. But his ability to, you know, one of the higher football IQs on our team, and his ability to diagnose what's coming and then trust his instincts and go make plays really shines through. It's not by chance. It's not by luck that he makes plays. He does his studying. He has prepared for the ball game, and then when he sees something and he knows it, he goes for it. He cuts it loose, and in turn, he makes some really big plays for us, and he does it with a really physical nature.
It's Sark on Cole and Chris's injuries. How would you evaluate DJ's play at right guard through the first 3 games? And then I know it's a Monday practice. It might be hard to tell, but do you get a sense of urgency from, Neto or Justice Finkley, some of those guys on the other side, that they might now have a chance to kind of step up in their role?
Yeah, I think DJ, there's been some really good moments, and there's been, a handful of plays each game that, we watch with them and we say, and then there's that level of frustration of you're better than that. And so I think the challenge, as always, for a young player is to play with consistency. It's not about talent. It's not about want to. DJ is a physical guy. He's imposing on the interior offensive line. He can really move people. But we're just trying to minimize kind of those one-off errors that pop in every once in a while. And then, part of that comes to just trusting the guys next to him. He's playing next to Jake Majors and Christian Jones. The guys have played a ton of football. And just trusting those guys and then going and cutting it loose, I think, is beneficial to him. I think some of the other guys, we've starting to see them. I think Neto's, he's close. He's close. We felt it kind of coming through training camp. Now there's going to be more opportunity for him there. And Justice has been playing. So now it's just, more opportunity for him, but again, I think that he can be impactful for us, and he's a really good first, second down player. Hopefully we can get a little bit more there on third down where he can impact the passer.
In the middle, Jim.
Steve over here. One more about the big fourth quarters. How much confidence does that create that guys will make big plays, offense or defense, and how different is that right now, what you're sensing maybe on the sideline than has been in the last couple seasons?
I think it definitely changes mentality, right? I think, first of all, when something doesn't go your way in a specific way, and then it happens again, and then it happens again, all of a sudden, is this a habit? And when it pops up, that's when you can get the, oh no, here we go again, and that's when you can the white knuckles start kicking in, and I hope somebody else makes this play, and you start, all those things are real, right? That's human nature, that's psyche. But it goes the other way too. So now we've gone 2 straight games where we have seen really critical plays being made in a positive way for us. We have seen playmakers step up to change the game, and now it's like, man, I hope I get my chance, right? I hope I can kind of join this party and be that guy to go make that play. So, psyche is psyche. There's individual psyche, there's team psyche. But I think our psyche right now is there's a real level of belief that if we can just stay the course, keep trying to execute, keep playing our style of football, that good things will happen. And in turn, they have. It's been 2 weeks in a row where our best football we have played in the fourth quarter and in all 3 phases. It hasn't just been one phase. And so I do think it's a psyche thing, that's a belief thing. And now hopefully we can continue to capitalize on that and have some, build that belief and that trust that no matter what the score is, just keep playing and good things will happen.
Front middle, Bob.
Where have you seen Barron make the most strides in the last, probably year since the beginning of last year, and how much is consistency important for him to make some of the plays he did in the third quarter?
Yeah, I think what Barron did is one, he really physically changed his body. He really attacked the weight room a year ago, and that helped him last year as a sophomore. Play good football, had 5.5 sacks, had some really good games along the way. But like anything now, going into year 3, more physically mature, more mentally mature, really approaching the game, understanding the game plan. And naturally, when other guys along that front are kind of getting their shine in the first couple weeks, you can possibly have a tendency to press. I got to go make that sack. I got to go make that play. And then you get out of the scheme and you're cutting a quarterback loose when you're supposed to be the contained rusher. And so I think the credit for Barron is last week he played within the scheme and he made his plays. And so he's more than capable to be a really good every down player for us at that position. He did it a year ago, and I thought, Saturday was arguably his best ball game that way, to where it was a complete game, and he got the stat sheet filled up a little more than he had the first 2 weeks.
The middle, Roger.
Sark, that 90-yard drive, you were real set on keeping the run going. Is there some mental gymnastics as a play caller? I want to take a shot, but we're doing well on the ground. And then back half of that is Jonathan Brooks being able to be that hammer in the second half.
Yeah, you try to play the mind game of anticipation of what you think the call is going to be from the defense, and if they're intent on trying to keep the ball in front and they're not going to put an extra hat in the box, we have to have the ability to run it, and I have to give our players the confidence that they can run it. And that was something that was a point of emphasis going into the game last week, and we followed through with that. Naturally, I looked to the drive in the third quarter. I touched on this after the game. We got the ball to start the second half, and we had driven the ball into the high red zone, and I kind of called a screen and go there to Gunner Helms that eventually fell incomplete. And sure enough, we're in a 3rd and long. We get sacked, and we knock ourselves out of field goal range. So as a coach, you have to self-evaluate too, just like I asked the players to, and how do we improve? And I have to make sure I'm dialed into the game plan too, and not feel like, man, we finally got to get something here and get something going. And so we ran the ball well. Every game is different, and we'll just have to call it accordingly to how this game goes. I'd say for JB, it was a really cool game for him. Coming into the season and Cedric kind of being that lead back for the first 2 games, and then Cedric getting hurt against Alabama in the 4th quarter. Who finished that game was Jonathan Brooks, right? Who was carrying that ball at the end to close that game out. I think instilled a lot of confidence in him. And then coming back Saturday night, when CJ couldn't go and JB knew he was going to kind of be the bell cow for us, I think he had that confidence from the week before that he could, and it showed up. I thought he played really good football for us Saturday night. He feels great today. It's different when you're carrying the ball that many times. How do you feel Monday morning? Felt good today. So it's comforting to know that we have that in him and what he's capable of.
2 last ones, Anwar and then Jeff.
Coach over here. Speaking of CJ, where's he at as far as practice is concerned? I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, so he was back out today. He was out last week. I just didn't feel comfortable where he was at and how he was feeling before that ball game. So he was back today. Again, we got to keep monitoring him throughout the week and see how he responds from day to day.
And Quinn, at the end of the day, he's only appeared in 13, games. Is a little bit limited and injured in high school. Do you have to remind yourself sometimes that he is a young quarterback who's still growing and developing, and where is he at from a progression standpoint?
Yeah, no, I do remind myself of that, but I also know he's had 2 full off seasons with us, 2 spring balls, 2 training camps, 2 summer workouts and player-led practices. He's played in some great environments and some big games against quality opponents. So as much as I remind myself, okay, this might be a little new for him, I also know he's been in some really big-time environments and has performed at the highest level in those environments, and maybe some other ones not so hot, but I think he's learned from those. And so I trust in Quinn. Like, this guy is more than capable of having a big-time season for us. Every game's going to go differently, and the fact that he knows he has a team around him that he can rely on too, that he doesn't have to make every play, I think is beneficial for everybody.
JB, again, his growth. Where have you seen him grow most over the years that you've been around him?
Well, I think maturity, it's like anything. Guy's year 3 now, and he had a chance for 2 years to be with Bijan and Roshan, 2 really mature guys, and that handled adversity really well, never really got emotional. And I think now, Jonathan is at a state of his career where he's a little bit more even keel, and he's a little bit more focused, and that allows him to kind of not make kind of some unforced errors, and he's taking care of the ball better today than he ever has. Knock on wood. He's really taking care of the football situationally. His understanding of what we're trying to do. He's a problem in the passing game. So he's just grown, right? His development has been that he's grown as a player, but he's also, I think, grown personally, and he's a guy that's one of the leaders on our team, and I'm glad we got him.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you guys.